album of the 80s. Now, here's how it works. Each of our guests, as well as members of our crackhead audience, have brought their picks, and they will debate these choices. We're gonna argue about these choices. We may even come to blows over these choices. And that's all before voting on the top 3 best albums of the 80s. My name is David Allen Grier. This is VH1, and you are on the list. Is a very sexy and beautiful actress. You've seen her on the cover of Playboy and on Baywatch half butt naked. And you can catch her in Comedy Central's new hit Strip Mall. Please say hello to a good friend of mine, Ms. Traci Bingham. Oh. Now you know our next guest as a member of not one of the funniest and smartest comedy group around, Kids in the Hall. You've also seen him in Galaxy Quest and Ladies Man. Give it up for a funny man, Kevin McDonald. Enjoy, Kevin. All right, got that. Also joining us is a musical sensation, and you can tell she's a sensation by her entourage. Yes, you know her from her days with Veruca Salt, and she's just released her first solo album, Tonight and the Rest of My Life, with the hit single by the same name. Put your hands together for a fabulous singer-songwriter, Nina Gordon. I just remembered you're on my birthday CD, and I listen to you almost every day. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's true. I'm not kidding. It's just true. Finally, our last guest is the latest star from Puff Daddy's Bad Boy Records. His debut album, Emotional, featuring hit singles like I Wish and Summer Rain, have been climbing up the charts. Y'all don't need to help me say hello to this brother, because you were screaming, hollering, ought to be damned when he came out here the first time. I'm talking about Mr. Soulful, Carl Thomas. Stop now. Stop it. Goodness. Now, before we get going, let's take a look at some of the best albums from the 80s. Show me around your fruitcake.
The best album of the 80s is Peter Gabriel's So.
Business as Usual by Man at Work. It completely typifies the 80s.
The best album of the 80s is Rio by Duran Duran, because Simon Le Bon is hot.
Best album of the 80s for me has got to be Police, Synchronicity.
The best 80s album was 1984 Van Halen, because David Lee Roth was with him and he was really rocking.
The best album of the 80s is definitely Purple Rain by Prince.
The best album of the 80s has got to be Licensed to Ill by the Beastie Boys, busting out in New York and going all over the place. They're the best.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to put the gloves on. And we about ready to get our guest choices. Traci.
Yes, totally.
Let's start with you, baby doll. Now, what is your second choice?
My second choice, I would definitely have to say, is Purple Rain by Prince. Because, I mean,
right.
Prince, he's just amazing. He's hot, he's sexy, he did a lot with fashion and style. He's hot, he's still hot, he's a man.
Yeah, I just met him, and he is, man.
He's beautiful.
Like, well, I wouldn't know about all that, but he's short, too.
He dresses nice.
Yes. Okay, now, Kevin, give it up, brother. What's your second choice?
Well, David Allen, first of all, thanks for having me here. The chair is very comfortable. And I just want to preface that don't hate my choices, because it's only a human being giving opinions. We're having fun. It's a party game. There can be cheeses here. It's a party game.
Kevin, we ain't got all day, brother. Come on.
Well, in the late 80s, rock and roll was exciting to me. I was young. I was in my late 40s, so through the 80s. And that's an exciting time for you in rock and roll. And this group didn't sell a lot of albums, David Allen, but they sort of, like Velvet Underground 20 years before them, they paved the way for the rock scene that came after them.
Okay.
And I know people are going to hate me, but I would say the Pixies and the album Doolittle.
Yeah.
All right, okay. I think you see the love, you know. There's not a lot of it, but they're supportive. You know?
Yeah. I mean, that's a crucial album. Totally influential.
Nina,
But what part
Yeah.
of the 80s? I don't remember. Right on your...
That's like 89. That's
See the guy with the funny head?
Okay. Is that you?
Yeah.
Did that swelling go down?
I remember that.
The Pixies. Whatever happened to the Pixies?
Well, one of them became the Breeders, right?
and
they
the
had
other
a big hit.
and the lead singer is
Yeah.
Frank Black.
And he's
Hey,
great.
let me ask you one question. This guy in the Breeders, did he have a lot of kids? You hear what I just said, Tracy? I said, did he have a lot of kids? Because he's in the Breeders. You're a nut.
You know what?
Nina, help me, honey. Oh,
You want to talk about the Pixies, or you want to talk about my
No, I
choice?
want to know about your second
Okay,
choice
I
and those
think-
boots.
Thank you. I think that this album is like the quintessential rock album of the 80s. It came out in 1980, and it foreshadowed everything that was going to happen with hard rock music in the 80s. There's really not much to say about it, except that it kicks ass, and it's AC/DC Back in Black.
Yeah, they were big.
AC/DC. Now, how many lead singers have AC/DC? They got eyes up in here.
Two. First there was Bon Scott, and he died, I think it was
He died
death
right
by
before.
misadventure, apparently,
Death
on
by
his death
misadventure.
certificate.
Did
Yeah.
he drink himself to death?
I believe he did.
How do you do that?
And then there's Brian Johnson, whom they found.
do that.
They found Brian Johnson to replace him in a vacuum cleaner ad in Australia,
That's
in a
beautiful.
Hoover ad.
That is beautiful.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
they do nothing
his
but
first
rock.
album, right? Back in Black.
Back in Black was
Actually,
the
it's his
first one.
first album.
Oh, yeah.
Carl Thomas, brother, what is your choice for best album of the 80s?
Well, my second choice comes from a guy that I felt personified what the youth were looking for in a change in urban pop music, and I think that this person helped the rest of the world to just to understand urban culture through his music, and that would be Mr. Bobby Brown. Don't be cruel.
That was nice. That was nice.
Yes.
New Jack.
Yes.
That's what they call it. New Jack. New Jack, baby. Look at him.
I love Bobby Brown.
Yeah.
We're from the same hometown. Boston.
Yeah.
He had the Gumby going.
I knew before I knew Whitney.
My prerogative.
I did.
Has anybody ever noticed that Britney Spears' Baby One More Time is the same song as My Prerogative? It's literally the same exact song.
All right, stop taking
Yeah.
for real. Don't
Yeah.
you ever talk about my Britney. She's the most talented woman in show business.
She didn't write the song.
I don't care, but she interpreted it like it makes you think she wrote it.
Same song.
I don't want to talk anymore. Now, as much as we would love hearing from our fabulous panelists, we have decided to also include our viewing audience in the making of the list. So now it's time to hear from the voice of the peoples. Let's go to one lucky member of our studio audience. We've got Breen from Toronto. Please stand up. Breen, where you at, baby?
Brienne.
How are you? Brienne? Sorry.
It's all right.
Sorry, Brienne. How are you?
Okay, this is an 83 album. It was this band's biggest and their last album, with hits like King of Pain, Wrapped Around Your Finger, Every Breath You Take, Synchronicity 2. The album is, of course, The Police Synchronicity.
Yes, that's really good. Brienne, yes, that was a good rock. I had that album, man. I had it on cassette, on the Walkman, state-of-the-art Walkman. Man, I used to listen to it day and night.
That was huge, and the
Machine.
Police are one of the greatest bands of the 80s, and I was
Right.
bummed when I heard, you know, people weren't picking that song,
Right,
picking that album.
that was before Sting started tripping, you know.
Yeah,
Doing it.
On the Sting bashing.
No, he's cool.
He's the man. He's singled himself out, and he's still doing hits.
He's only worth $190 million.
What about their clothes in Synchronicity? What about all those, like, long dumpster
Right,
coats
and the
with
Ghost
the
in the
ripped
On the
Machine
junkyard.
logo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
they
feel
were
bad
hot.
for the rest of the police, because they're like, I was in the police.
Yeah, but you know what? Stuart Copeland is like my greatest all-time crush, though. That man is genius and beautiful.
Okay. Now, when we're going to have to take a short break, Nina, but when we come back, we're going to get all our guests' #1 choices, plus more picks from our viewers. Please stay with us. Nina's going to tell us who else she thought was hot. Carl's going to kick in. Tracy is finally going to give me that Puma bag, because I'm sick of you. And Kevin's going to be kicking down, too. So don't change
I'll
the
give it
channel.
to you. It's yours. It's yours.
Thank you.